What's up, everybody? Welcome to another gamer log. Forgive the camera. If this thing jumps, I don't know what it's been doing. It's been freezing from time to time. But I wanted to take a minute, or probably a few minutes, more than a few minutes, the way these things go, because I tend to ramble. Especially in ones like this, because I talk about things that I really care about. But unfortunately, I'm also talking about one here that I've kind of gotten away from. Um, if you watch my channel over the years, you've probably noticed there's usually been a lot of DC stuff in the background, right? Well, I've got stuff over here, including Red Hood and Harley Quinn. I've got some pictures of them, some stuff I picked up at a con that have been signed by the artist. Um, and you'll notice Lady Death in the back there. You'll notice, Street Fighter popping up here and there more and more, especially the old movie poster up there. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of DC stuff anymore, and I think it's because I honestly don't know. I wish I could explain it. I think I've kind of died down on DC ever since there's been experiences in over the last couple of years that have really kind of taken away from it for me. I mean, there's been encounters and just stuff happen with the most recent lineup of movies with I'm excited for James Gunn. Hopefully, hopefully his universe does well. Um, but ever since Zack Snyder didn't get to finish where he was, I think unfortunately it was part of the Zack Snyder universe not being able to fully complete because I was really looking forward to that. A lot of people were not a lot of people, but there was a group of people that was just saying this is Snyder's bullshit. We shouldn't have to do all this. We need somebody new, better, whatever. It is what it is. I'm still a Snyder fan. I still have a copy of 4K copy of Zack Snyder's Justice League that Dark Knight on TikTok sent me. Um, but aside from a box of comics and some art, that's really about all I have. Except for I do have a Blu-ray collection of Batman the Animated Series, DVD box set of Batman Beyond. I do have Birds of Prey, early 2000s. Um, TV box set I've had for forever. And I've got a full library of digital DC animated movies, which I still love the animated movies. I also just finished Cape Crusader. Batman Cape Crusader on Prime Video surprised me because I did not know, and this is how out of touch I've been, I did not know that Bruce Timm produced it. And when I saw his name pop up in the animations, I was like, huh, okay. It definitely had a lot of old school vibes. The animation was solid. The stories took me through a twist because normally, you have these expectations of these characters, especially if you've been watching throughout the years, Penguin, Harley Quinn, so on and so forth, and in some ways, they turn these characters on their head, and it's an amazing series. I can't wait for more. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but um, it's it's crazy how comic book media and iterations, especially live action and animated media, um, have adapted their own life to these characters when you look at the comic canon, right? Now, what's really interesting, and I'll get back to why I think I've kind of gotten away from DC here. Um, what's really interesting is that you've got these building iconic characters that are showing up for DC, Marvel, um, and for years, there ain't no telling for like how long from now there will be generations that don't know these characters in some way or another, or even in reference to them, you know. And that's the thing too. Like when you look at that throughout history, we never really had a media format aside from like maybe newspapers, books, word of mouth. Early humans had word of mouth, and shit would spread like wildfire. Somebody would talk about something that happened, and then it would become deified, or it would become legend, myth, so on and so forth. But nowadays, obviously, we have movies, books, the internet, TV. streaming services, all kinds of media platforms. So now you've got these characters that first showed up in print that were inspired by ancient tales that our ancestors told. Um, and they've gone from print to animation to live action. And now you've got a whole culture, a whole geek and nerd culture built around all this. And it's just amazing because coming up, I didn't think that would ever happen. I always kind of felt like an outsider liking what I liked, especially when it comes to video games. I want to get to that in just a minute. But I think that for me, being the DC fanboy that I was and still continue to be from time to time, I think unfortunately because of previous events in the movie, the drama that unfolded, and if you're not aware of it, it all started with Justice League. Um, in my opinion, this is where it kind of, for me, kind of started going downhill. Zack Snyder, his daughter, committed suicide. Rest in peace. And he had to step away from production. So they had the Justice League movie come out that was re-edited from his original vision, and it didn't do too well. I wasn't a fan of it either. I bought it, mostly because I was supporting the franchise, so to speak. But Zack Snyder had already done Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. He was building the Justice League, and then it was going to go to Justice League 2. And you get used to this, because you saw the solidarity and the consistency on Marvel's side, and you would just hope that the competitive studio on the other side would get their fucking shit together and allow people to do their job, you know. Um, but Warner Brothers never had that. They, I mean, look, and I hate to say it, but I think that Warner Brothers in that regard really fucked things up because of an unfortunate turn of events. I think the producers got way too involved. Um, but now that we have DC Studios, James Gunn heading it up, they seem to be more in line. And sadly, to me, it just feels like it's too late. And there's a lot of disappointment there. And the other sad part is that I feel like that disappointment is not only just in the movies, but it's canvassing over to any art I had or any figures I had, comics, graphic novels. Honestly, it really sucks, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't be hitting that hard, but it did. Um, there was also some encounters online. I started seeing toxicity um, from sources that it was total bullshit. I'm fixing to be 40, and I just encountering toxic people. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it. So I stepped away. And as I was doing that, and I started taking ADHD meds that were helping, and they still continue to do so. I'm back on Strattera. It started helping me focus on things that matter. On what needs to be done in my life, especially like hobbies. Gaming has remained untouched because obviously that has shown mentally that it's true to form for me. It is a hobby, and again, I'll touch on that here in a minute. But DC was a big part of my life for a long time, and it still is. Not as big, obviously. Maybe that'll change in a year or two. We'll see how it goes. But so that's part of that. That's what happened with me as a DC fan. That's probably why you don't see things as often. With that said, I do like to have a theme in my office, and I have one growing right there with Street Fighter. You can't see it on the side over here, but I've got a Cammy versus Ryu going on. Can I get a shot of it? Hold on a minute. I can get a shot of that. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Cammy versus Ryu, and the camera's freezing. There we go. But yeah, Cammy versus Ryu. So I'm going with Street Fighter. I'm going with Magic the Gathering. I mean, these are gaming franchises that have stuck with me throughout my life, brought me a lot of happiness. Magic the Gathering helped me be a lot more sociable when I was a teenager. to some extent. It was a hell of a community. It had its bad apples, but I loved going to, Friday Night Magic and all that, tournaments back in the day, drafts, so on and so forth. And I found that again in Magic the Gathering Arena. I don't know of anybody online that I play, and unfortunately, there's no chat in Magic the Arena, which is give and take. Magic the Gathering Arena, which is give and take because you don't have to deal with toxic players, but at the same time, if you meet a friendly player you think you might like to friend or play with, um, sadly you can't do that. So, um, there's a chance I could always probably look them up or try to add them, but the problem is I don't know who I'm adding. So I hate to say it, but I've been kind of become guarded in that situation. Um, but there's also Street Fighter. One of the biggest things fixing to come out is Marvel vs. Capcom. Oh my God. I'm lucky enough to have um I'm lucky enough to have a PS3 80 gig that can run PS2 games, most PS2 games, right? The digital disc. But I also back in the day bought Capcom vs. SNK 2 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that I could re-download. I've also figured out that the PS3 can, to a good extent, utilize the PS5 DualSense. And so I've been using that, and the camera's freezing. Yeah, I've been using that to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I unfortunately don't have an original PS3 controller, which is driving me nuts because I can't find one anywhere. I'm probably gonna have to get it off Amazon. Things are really tight right now, though, like financially, like really tight. Um, I can get away every so often to do something to get out of the house. I'm a hermit by nature. It is who I am. I've grown up that way. My office is a safe space. My house is a safe space. My car is a safe space. I have certain cities like Dallas. Some people may not be able to understand this. I totally get it because it's Dallas. But Dallas is a bit of a safe space for me. Cinemark movie theaters are a safe space. Gaming stores, GameStop, Game Exchange locally is a safe space. Comic store locally is kind of a safe space. Anyway, these are the places I frequented. These are the places I feel comfortable. And, normally that's just like, oh yeah, I like to go to places like that as well. It goes beyond that. These are places where I literally can hardly ever feel any anxiety whatsoever. Even if I'm engaging with like a very horrible person, I can always walk away, go to another side of the store, and not have to leave because I know that it's a safe space. You know, and I may not even know the owners. It may even just be a franchise like GameStop. But emotionally and mentally for me, these are places that I associate with, that I click with, that I grew up with, that I identify with, and it helps a lot. So anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because I can't find an original Sony DualShock um, six-axis controller, and it sucks because I've been using off-brand to play Marvel vs. Capcom, and the D-pad, which I utilize, not the analog, the D-pad on the ones I have are horrible. They're fucking horrible, man. I mean, for jumping and dodging. So thankfully, the DualSense works with the PlayStation 3, and so I've been utilizing that. But Street Fighter has been a big part of my life ever since Street Fighter 2. I used to play it in arcade back whenever I would go with mom to do laundry. Um, and the one of the best memories I have is defeating Zangief at the USSR with the map when you fly in, you're fighting characters on a world tour. I've had a bug in this office the whole time. Um, and I didn't catch it, I don't think. But anyway, one of my matches with Zangief that really sticks in my head that I kicked his ass. I remember spending about $2 trying to fight him because this was back in the day when it was 25 cents, a quarter to play. And so anyway, Street Fighter's always been with me starting there. I played Third Strike on Dreamcast, and then enter PlayStation. I had Street Fighter Alpha 3, which I loved. None of the recent ports have even compared because some of the features on Street Fighter Alpha 3 were amazing, including the character edit. Um, and I remember a mode that you could take on multiple, like an endless battle of Shadaloo fighters. They were basically Cammy variants. Um, you could just have them come at you from every which way, and then you could. I would play a Kuma, and I would just roundhouse everybody, doing the Raging Demon. I'm also looking at collecting Darkstalkers stuff because Capcom. Darkstalkers is an underrated series. Sadly, they haven't really done a whole lot with it. I do have the anime on Blu-ray. I picked that up a few weeks ago. I'm trying to get more art and posters for it, but it's hard because again, it is such an older series, and I don't think it would play today if they tried to release a new one. Um, but it's like Street Fighter, but it's like a darker, grittier, more fantastic game. When I say fantastic, I mean the root word fantasy. Um, because it's basically, it's like they took the old school horror creatures, Frankenstein, vampires, werewolves, everything. They put it from Japanese culture inspired characterizations and added it to a fighting game. It's so amazing. But anyway, obviously Street Fighter is becoming a part of my office again, which is great because this really is something I've been dedicated to my whole life. Another thing, and you really can't see it up here, and unfortunately I can't position the camera, is Final Fantasy. I'm collecting more Final Fantasy stuff. This is something I've been wanting for a long time. This is anima. I'll show it in the video at some point. My back's killing me tonight. I've even taken pain meds and my back's still killing me. But was the camera froze? This thing. I gotta. I'm not gonna say anything in front of it, but I might have to get a new one. I might have to get a new one. Just covered the mic. Ugh, what a day. Anyway, that's Anima from Final Fantasy X. Um, one of my favorite summons. One of my all-time favorite summons from the game. Aside from, I honestly can't think of another favorite summon from the game. Yoshimitsu, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, we're currently playing through Final Fantasy VIII here on the channel. That'll be one of my very first Final Fantasy games, the old school ones to complete here on the channel. Um, and I'm loving that. I'm loving it. So, man, it's freezing again. Maybe it's a sign from the universe. I should cut it off here. I am going on 18 minutes. But anyway, look, all this stuff means a lot to me. This has been stuff I can rely on in my life that I can escape into. I did it a lot as a kid, probably too much, but you know what? So be it. It helped me. It helped me not do anything really stupid with my life. There could be arguments made that it did hinder me as well. But when you review my family history, when you look at things that run in my family that was either diagnosed or undiagnosed or was covered up with alcoholism or some sort of other addiction, there is such heavy influence for that to happen that I'm happy for this. In more than a couple of ways, gaming saved my life. It helped me escape some bad times. It helped me learn some lessons, including RPGs like Final Fantasy. Um, it helped me build my brain a bit and react better. It also caused anxiety, I'm not gonna lie, especially Street Fighter. Especially Darkstalkers taking on Pyro, bastard. um, don't even get me started on SVC Chaos. That game is fucked, man. If you've never played SVC Chaos, SNK versus Capcom, I I dig it. I love what they did. It's a great game in ways of art and character animations and whatnot, but you put the setting to one. I put it to one because I want to experience the story. I want to see the endings. And it's like the fucking thing is still set to the highest difficulty. I gave up. I didn't want to do it. I was just like, damn, this sucks. But anyway, I still have it on PC. It was on special on Steam for like $20. So I went ahead and got it a few weeks back. Um, and obviously Marvel vs. Capcom. So, there's that too. Anyway, one out on DC and the fighting games. I still love Injustice 2. I haven't picked it up in a while, but I still love it. It's still a great game. Um, but anyway, look, I'm going on 20 minutes here. Rambled, long-winded, but I wanted to share this because I really haven't given any in-depth details or updates about what's been going on. Why have you not seen a whole lot of DC here on the channel? Oh, obviously, notable mention Baldur's Gate. You'll see shorts pop up here and there. That game is amazing. Still continues to be amazing. Also, World of Warcraft. Obviously, World of Warcraft has been on the channel as well. I mean, that's a given. I've been playing the game for over 16 years, and or close to that, probably 15. Uh, yeah, somewhere close to 15. And but the problem is, World of Warcraft, it's got its lull points because in between expansions, um, it what's made it even tougher is being a guild master. I have a guild that I have had around that characters are still in the guild that the real life friends that I had have passed away, including one that gave me a mount that back in the day I couldn't afford. It was a very expensive mount. It was about 20,000 gold. It was the motorbike that has an additional passenger add-on. I forget what it's called, but it's an engineering mount, and it wasn't easy to make. And I'll tell you how that went down. Um, so I asked her. I said, "Look, she died of cancer, which kind of is hitting home now that I think about it." I was talking to her. I think we weren't in Discord back then. I think it was Team Chat or Ventrilo. It was Ventrilo, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, listen, I I don't have I'm not able to get one of these things, and I'm wondering." I literally asked her. I said, "Can I set up a payment plan with you to get this mount?" Um, it's freezing again. Sorry. But I said, listen, can I set up a payment plan with you to get this mount? I'll give you about 1,000 gold a month or something, you know. It was one of the craziest things I've ever done. But that's what, and you know, she went ahead and she gave it to me. You know, she said, pay it when you can, or do what you want, or put that towards the guild bank so people can do, you know, repairs and whatnot. The name of the guild is Revenants. Um, it started it started because I was in a guild. I started in a guild with the same people that joined Revenants. Revenants really built up. It was more of a guild that I had created about 2, 3 months before. It was just like a personal thing, like I want to say um, I wanted the guild bank to store stuff in, but I really didn't use it for that. It was just because I wanted a cool guild name of my own, but I never really thought about adding people to it. It was just like a personal thing. But anyway, I joined a guild temporarily just to try to get into groups and whatnot and talk with people. But then 2 weeks after I get in, this fucking guildmaster just kicks people out, like for no reason at all. And so I'm in this Ventrilo one day with these people, and these new people in my life, and they're just like, well, yeah, we've just been kicked out. You know, we had nothing to do. Somebody reached out to me and said, were you kicked out? I was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I didn't know anything about what was going on. I just figured since I was some rando, they just decided to kick me out. But no, this dude kicked everybody out. Um, and so, well, and I said just out of nowhere, I was like, well, if y'all need a guild, I have a guild that y'all can join up with, and it was called Revenants. And I had people join because they loved the name, but also because other people came in because they were friends with other people. So this was right around the time of Lich King. We ended up right before Cataclysm came out, right at the tail end of the Lich King, while it was still standard, the current expansion. Right near the end, um, it's freezing again. Right near the end, we beat Lich King 10 man. Um, it wasn't 25, it was 10 man. And we were so damn proud. It was ridiculous because look, you gotta understand, I only run ever since then. We started as a casual guild. We were friends, some were family. Um, I only like to do stuff casual. I always stayed out of hardcore bullshit because I don't play games to get anxiety as much as I can help it. I don't play games to up my blood pressure, especially in recent years, because if it starts doing that, I pull away for a bit. Um, there's already enough stress in adult life without having to worry about video games causing you to add on to that. Because once it starts doing that, then it's a bad thing. Then it's a chore. Then it's a job, you know? So, anyway, that's how the guild started. Revenants, it's been going ever since. But for the last 5 or 6 years, well, I would argue probably 3, 4 years ago, we were still pretty strong. We had a guild leader. I'm a guild master, but we had a raid leader. I had to step away after Dad died. Somebody else took over. Really cool guy. We had a lot of cool folks that made progress in raids. But then things kind of fell apart a bit because of some drama got started while I was away. And by the time I got back, everybody was already jaded to it. So um, I heard about a lot of shit that went down that I won't repeat here. But I will say drama can not only infect a family or a group of friends, but it can also infect an online guild, an online community, where usually there's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of talking, a lot of understanding. But it can happen even with the strongest guilds that it fractures, it sections off. And you see that a lot online, especially with in MMO guilds. People break away, especially like for example in Warcraft. People break away and it's just because they want to raid more. The guild's not raiding more, so the hardcore raiders break away. They start their own raiding guild. It's too casual for them, or they keep getting noobs in, or so on and so forth. Or RP very rarely happens, um, but it can happen where again people want a guild focused on one thing, and if a guild's too casual, they tend to break away and start their own guild, and that causes guild numbers to go down because usually if you have a home guild, your main guild, you'll bring in your alt characters into the guild, and there's a lot of players that are dedicated to one guild. They want all their characters in, and that's how I run Revenant. It's an open casual guild. The camera keeps. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going on 30 minutes here, but it's hard to stop. Lincoln once said, he quoted a preacher. He said, "I could do a sermon and stop, but I get too lazy," or something to that regard. I'm a bit of a Lincoln enthusiast, so. Um, but yeah, that's World of Warcraft though. That's MMOs. That's online communities. And I have made even here on the YouTube channel because of the content, the way it's lacked, the way it's been almost non-existent at times. Over the years, I've had friends, I've had comrades come on. We play games, we do collabs, we have fallouts, there's been very few arguments. I mean, I have had people come at me blaming me for something that was a projection of something that happened to them or so on and so forth. But there's never been any knockdown dragouts kind of stuff. And unfortunately, friendships have fallen by the wayside. I mean, I still keep in contact with some folks, mostly talking about collaboration buddies or folks I've dealt with. Um, but again, real life happens, and you have better odds and I think better access to people in real life than you do online, especially as you get older. Because if you start doing this stuff as you're young, and then you start getting older, the friends you make online tend to drift away a bit because they got families or um, they pass sadly, or they move on from the game to go to something else, and it may not be something you're interested in. So you see these names sitting, for example, from time to time I look at the guild roster, um, and there are people that still have their characters in that haven't logged in 5 or 6 years, but they're still there. I don't want to kick them. If I know who they are, I have an officer's note. This was an OG member, don't kick, so on and so forth. And you just drift away. So it's hard. It's hard, but it happens. So Anyway, look, I've been rambling for 30 minutes. It's been a while since I've made a log of some sort, and the camera's being a jackass right now. It's starting to annoy me. So I'm going to cut this here before I get any anxiety for making this, because that wouldn't be good. Although content creation is not without its anxiety, but I still like doing it for a lot of reasons that I've touched on here on the channel: digital legacy, spreading a message, talking about stuff, getting used to in front of the camera. It helped me open up, so on and so forth. So those are in older vlogs. If you want to go back and look at that, feel free. But there's a ton of vlogs, so there's that. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, you're a total champ. Remember, you're awesome. Never throw a tail otherwise. Stay safe, stay sane, and I'll see you next time. Peace.